Hey everybody, and welcome back to BK's Bullets. Today we're talking Iron Man 2 and our march to Infinity War. Hey everybody, and welcome back to BK's Bullets. As always, I am your host, Brent, and we are continuing our Marvel movie review series, March to Infinity War, to prep for Infinity War coming out, I think the first weekend in May 2018. So today we're talking Iron Man 2. It is a little bit later than in the schedule than you probably should be if you're doing one movie a week. I'm still keeping up with watching movie, I'm just late getting these reviews out on time. Doing a lot of traveling right now for work, so please forgive me if these do not come out every week on a weekly basis, but I will put out a review for every Marvel movie. That is the goal. And that way you can watch them all in preparation for Infinity War to get a refresher on the entire Marvel Universe, maybe save you, tens of hours that way by watching these short little videos as opposed to a 2-hour movie. Sometimes they're 2.5. But anyway, that's the goal. So we're talking Iron Man 2. This movie came out 8 years ago in 2010, directed by Jon Favreau. Got everybody returning from the first Iron Man movie except the villain who died and Terrence Howard. Terrence Howard was replaced by Don Cheadle in the role of Rhodey Rhodes, Lieutenant Colonel James Rhodes, or soon to be known as War Machine in this movie. Fun fact, Terrence Howard got paid the most out of the entire cast and crew for Iron Man 1. That's right, the most. He got paid more than Robert Downey Jr., more than Jon Favreau, etc., etc., and that is why he is not in this film. He wanted to be paid that same amount from the first movie. I don't know the number. I think it is available on the internet if you want to look up this story. It is true. And he wanted a bonus or a raise for the second Iron Man movie. Marvel said, nope, no thank you, we will find somebody else, and they got Don Cheadle, who is more than happy to step in to this role and collect some paychecks for this movie, Avengers 2, Iron Man 3, etc., etc. And I think I don't know if we're better off for it. I really like Terrence Howard's portrayal in the first film, but I think Don Cheadle has grown into the role of War Machine, especially by the time we get to like Civil War and Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3. He's a great actor and a great sidekick for Tony Stark in these films, just as Terrence Howard was in the first one. So I'm interested to see if there's ever a parallel universe where everything is the same except that one little change where we have Terrence Howard in all these movies instead of Don Cheadle stepping in. But anyway, that's the only cast change. Our new cast members are Sam Rockwell as Justin Hammer, kind of the Tony Stark wannabe in this film. And then our big bad guy, we have Mickey Rourke returning. I don't know if he's hot off The Wrestler at this point, but this was kind of like the beginning of his kind of career resurgence. I don't know if Expendables 1 was before or after this. They're all kind of happening at the same time, but he is here as Ivan Vanko, or Whiplash, as he's better known to big Iron Man movie fans, or not movie fans, but Iron Man fans in general. So, quick recap, Ivan Vanko and his father and Tony Stark's father, Anthony Stark, Howard Stark, worked together back in Russia, as we find out in the beginning of this film. And on the initial arc reactor designs, I think Vanko was dealing on the side, and then he got kicked out, sent back to Russia. Therefore, the Vankos have a grudge against the Starks. So we open the film in Siberia, in Russia, watching Tony Stark say, I am Iron Man, with the Vankos, father and son. Vanko dad dies and tells his son to get revenge, and so on and so forth. So that's why Ivan Vanko, our opening credit scene is him creating this little, crappier arc reactor, and then moving on into these big whips and stuff like that. Why we have dual whips in Russia, I have no idea. It's unclear at this point. But they're electrified, they look cool, and they are powered by the same technology as Tony Stark. Just a crappier, not refined version of it. So Tony Stark comes back. We open this movie up. He's having to talk to the U.S. government and defend him having the Iron Man suit. The government wants him to turn it over to them. They see it as like a weapon on the level of like a nuclear scale. And he says, no, I am the nuclear deterrent and nobody else is matching technology with me. Plays a bunch of videos of other people, countries, and companies trying to duplicate this technology and basically failing, blowing themselves up, killing their test subjects, etc., etc., walks out. It's a great scene, and I think Gary Shandling, who is that guy? Yeah, Gary Shandling is the senator here, and he's got a great role coming up too in Captain America Winter Soldier. He's kind of a jerk senator, and then you realize in that movie later on why he's such a jerk and why he wants this technology. It's a cool little seed that they picked up on and stuff like that. Unfortunately, Gary Shandler died a few years ago, so he wasn't able to reprise his role, but it's nice that he has a little arc from this movie into the next one. I can't remember if he's in the first Iron Man movie or not, but it's pretty cool. So anyway, they go to Monaco, Whiplash comes in, they have a great sequence with the car, stuff like that. He goes to prison, gets broken out by Justin Hammer. Justin Hammer says, "Can you make me an Iron Man suit? Because you know how to work this arc reactor technology." Vanko instead, instead of building suits for Hammer, builds a bunch of drones and then works on his own suit, as we find out later on. And there's a big confrontation at what is like the Stark Showcase with War Machine and these drones and Iron Man, and that's kind of our big finale. So War Machine comes about because Iron Man gets drunk at a party. Rhodey Rhodes is there, and he says Iron Man, being too drunk and out of control, he puts on the Mark II suit, which is the all-silver one, and the Mark II and I think the Mark IV at this time battle it out mano a mano after everybody's cleared the house, and they kind of half destroy Tony Stark's house in Malibu. And then Rhodey takes off with it and says, "Sorry, buddy, this one's mine, or I'm keeping this one." He takes it, Hammer augments it, adds all these, the weapon shoulder pads and everything, all the new weapons and machine gun over the shoulder, all that stuff gets added by Justin Hammer and his goons, and that's how we get the War Machine suit, or at least the first version of it. So the movie ends with Iron Man and War Machine fighting back-to-back, all these drones, and then a confrontation with Whiplash. Eventually they're successful, yada yada, and the emotional arc of the movie's closed out with Tony and Pepper Potts kissing, realizing they're in love with each other. So that's Iron Man 2 in a nutshell. On the side, you have the beginning of S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff like that, and I think that's where the movie, people deride this movie a lot in the last 8 years. It was once considered the worst Marvel movie, I think, until we got Thor: The Dark World. But it was considered a bad Marvel movie, and this movie's not that bad. I think it's watchable. It is rewatchable. You're not going to be watching it bored. There's lots of eye candy in this movie, so I think young kids will enjoy it, but I think what hurts this movie is that it is a bunch of armored suits fighting each other again, and we kind of had that in the first film, even though it kind of takes it to another level. Instead of, maybe the problem was it takes it to another level in that it's just more armored suits as opposed to something different with armored suits, and maybe that's why people didn't like this film as much. You've also got them trying to set up S.H.I.E.L.D. and all this stuff in this movie. You get a glimpse of like a vibranium shield when he's creating this new element to heal him. He's suffering from like this weird sickness from his core in his chest, Iron Man is. You've got the introduction of Black Widow here in this terrible long red-haired wig, but you have Scarlett Johansson making her first appearance in this movie. Also, you have Nick Fury, played by Samuel L. Jackson. His first real appearance is in Iron Man 2. He was at the end of Iron Man 1 with the teaser, the tag there. And, he's kind of setting up S.H.I.E.L.D. And then at the end of this movie, he's reading a folder called the Avengers Project or something like that. And it turns out that Nick Fury doesn't want him, apparently, right now as part of the Avengers. But what's cool is in this shot, one of these shots in the background, you can see all these little blips of things that they're dealing with. You got one in New Mexico, which is Thor, which is the next movie we're going to do. You've got Wakanda. You've got something in the ocean, which we think is Atlantis, which some people thought was hinting at Namor. It may be, may never be. His rights land with Universal, so we'll probably not get him in the Marvel Universe. And then also, maybe that's where Cap is. I'm not quite sure. But you've got all these little blips on the map, little kind of Easter eggs for fans to try and figure out what's coming in the Avengers and stuff like that. So I think the problem that people don't like this movie is that you can see the growing pains of Marvel trying to stretch their legs and figure out and push and pull where they want their Marvel movies to be, what they're going to be, what the sequel like kind of formula is, what the origin formula is. All this stuff's really being worked on and figured out while this movie's being made. So I think people kind of consider it a bit of a mess. I don't think it's that bad, honestly. But until Thor: The Dark World came about, this was one of the worst Marvel movies of the MCU anyway. And now I think that one's probably a little bit below it than this one. But for some reason, people don't like this one a lot, and they haven't for a long time. I don't think it's that bad. So that is our look at Iron Man. One thing I do love about Iron Man 2 is the Mark V suit, which is the suitcase suit he uses in Monaco. It's got the silver and the red design from the Silver Centurion. We'll see that again in Iron Man 3, that color scheme that people love. And I really like the way that you just like throw the suitcase on the ground, kick it, and it pops up. You put it on, stretch your arms out, and then boom, it does everything else from there. I thought that was a really cool nod to, I think it was in like the 90s comics, things like that. And also the cartoon, he would have a briefcase and put on gloves and boots, his chest piece, and his helmet, and then everything else would like come together, and he was Iron Man in the 90s cartoon. So it's a cool throwback to that, and I think a really cool implementation of the evolution of Tony Stark. Like the first movie you saw him, he had to have all these mechanical arms, put the suit on him and tugging him and pull him and things like that. Whereas this movie is kind of pointing to where they want to go with the Iron Man suit, where he can just like, you know, think about it, say something, flip a switch, and the suit opens up and he can step in and out of that suit. So all in all, I don't think it's a bad film. I would give it 3.5 stars out of 5. So an above average movie, not terrible. It's totally watchable. It's just unfortunate because the first Iron Man movie is so good, and then you get Iron Man 3, which a lot of people don't like either. We'll talk about that one later. But I like this movie. So that's Iron Man 2 in a bottle for you. What did you guys think of Iron Man 2? Let me know. Did you like Whiplash or not? I honestly forgot what his design was for the end armor until we saw it again. Watching the movie. It's not very popular. It's not very, you know, I guess because it was only in the movie for about 5 minutes. And he wasn't that threatening of a villain or very compelling because their fathers had a relationship with each other, but they didn't have a relationship with each other. So I think that's why maybe he wasn't a compelling villain as people wanted him to be. But that's Iron Man 2. If you like this video, thumbs up. If you didn't like it, thumbs it down. Let me know what you thought about Iron Man 2 down below in the comments. Please like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you guys next time in the funny pages for Thor.